My name is Pete Fuller. I'm a resident of St. Paul. My father actually represented this district in the state legislature 30 years ago. So I, for the first time, really understood tonight what it meant when he left the home in the evening to go to these types of events in the cold winter. So I appreciate it.
Was his name Fur also?
Further, yes. Further.
Oh my God, Bob
I hear your
Furker.
dad.
Since I've lived in this area for 55 years,
Yes.
it's certainly a name I know.
So I appreciate you showing up and listening to my story. Let me jump right to what I think the problem is and what I would offer as a solution, and then I'll tell you a little bit about the story. First of all, I think it's fantastic that the state legislature passed the concussion law last year, and I think the educational piece, the return to play piece are excellent, and I think that's going to prevent a lot of harm going forward. I would say, however, though, I think what is missing is the academic piece and what happens in the academic environment when the injured athlete goes back into the school. And over the course of the last 2 years, as we've been dealing with this, I've learned a lot about proper treatment, proper protocols for addressing concussion. And I would like to recommend that the state of Minnesota adopt a protocol that is being used in Colorado. It's called the REAP protocol, so that's the acronym. R stands for reduce play and cognitive demands. E stands for educate. A stands for accommodate for student athlete academically. I'd like to emphasize that point. And then P stands for pace the student back to activity. And I think if Minnesota were to adopt something like that, we would further improve the outcomes that we're seeing. So let me just say a few things about our story. It's a very complicated story, and it goes off in various directions. I'll try to keep it to the point here. 23 months ago, my son, who was an excellent hockey player at the time, was one of the top players in his age group in Minnesota, was leading his high school hockey team and scoring it January 11th when he was rammed from behind into the boards by a teammate at a practice and suffered a pretty severe concussion. And from that moment onward, we've been involved in this cascading negative effects, which I attribute largely to ignorance on my son's parents' part, but also ignorance on the part of the school. And from the get-go, the school has been unwilling to ever admit that his subsequent educational academic struggles were at all linked to that concussion. And just a couple points along the way here. 3 weeks after the concussion, his grades had fallen and they put him on academic probation, which meant that he couldn't even go in the hockey rink and be with his teammates to act as a spectator and be in that positive social group. So they stigmatized him, put the scarlet letter of academic ineligibility on him. He had a real difficult spring. They asked that he go see the school psychologist, who attributed his problems to character flaws. Throughout the summer, as we attempted to get some credit retrieval, get him back on track, and our neurologist recommended that he play sports in the fall to get back into kind of a positive social environment. They said no. This went on and on. We get about a year out. About a year ago, today almost, we had a very contentious meeting with the school officials, where I showed him these protocols from Colorado and other places, and I said, why can't we be doing this? And that went nowhere. A week later, we had a meeting with the president of the school, who told us that my son's educational problems could not be the result of the concussion because too much time had passed, which I think is just complete misinformation about the pathology of brain injuries. And we had an unsuccessful mediation a couple weeks ago where that same argument is being brought out as an excuse for complete inaction on the part of the school in this case. My son is, at this moment, he should be a high school senior. getting ready to graduate and go off to college. He's essentially a high school dropout, and we've been having a very difficult time finding an educational arrangement for him. As I said, the school is in, I think, complete denial about the problem. And I think if there was legislation that put in place requirements that schools follow these protocols, and the REAP protocol, I think one really nice feature of it is that it requires a team to be created within the academic institution when there is a brain injury, so that the school nurse, the athletic trainer, the guidance counselor, each serve a different function so that the student doesn't fall through the cracks, and that is allowed to kind of be brought back on to his normal academic schedule when it's appropriate. And none of that happened for my son, and as a consequence of that, we've had 2 years of real heartache, and that could have been avoided, I believe. So that's our story.
Thank you very much.